We just finished Warfare 2025. Let's talk about it. In this video, I'm going to give my raw thoughts with not that much research, just like a fan coming out of a movie theater watching this movie, giving my opinions on Warfare 2025. And what a unique movie this is. I've never seen a movie that is anything like this, honestly. It's made by the guys who made Civil War, which I thought was mid, not terrible by any means. Looked really good, had a compelling story. I think honestly, it was just the trailers made it seem like a completely different movie. So going in, I was not expecting what it was. But also some of the stuff there was just also some weird stuff in that movie too. But definitely, no doubts about it. In the movie Civil War, the best parts were like the gunfights and storming the White House, and it just seemed real. I'm not some sort of gun nut job where I can tell you the exact tactics the U.S. military uses, but also I've dabbled in Call of Duty, and so I know a little bit in some of the real world tactics. The Call of Duty thing, that was a joke. But yeah, I know the real world tactics. Not an expert or anything, but I'm familiar with it, I suppose. And Civil War definitely had lots of that. And then what is Warfare? That's just I think the best parts of Civil War, but made into an entire movie. And I really like this movie. I thought it was incredible and super unique. That's the point I want to emphasize. Is it like a perfect movie, whatever that means, like a perfect piece of film? I don't think so. I think there's actually some problems, like just watching it. There were some things I would be like, oh, they could have done this, they could have done this. All the characters were basically static characters, like they didn't really have any character arcs or had any hero moments. There was not a lot of action, especially for the first third of the movie until like the grenade goes into the hole. But it was super tense, especially since you know what's going to happen. The movie's called Warfare. You know something's going to happen. And it was a super tense first third of the movie where I was on the edge of my seat. But also just nothing happened for the first third of the movie. Just a lot of setup. And also when stuff does happen, when poop hits the fan, and all the crazy action starts, we don't even really see what they're shooting at. We're confined in the building they're in the house, I suppose, that all the soldiers were in, and we don't really even see lots of the action from the other point of view. And then when the movie ends, like I knew it was kind of a short movie just looking at the runtime, but then when it ends, wow, it just ends. Nothing happens. Like, all right, it's over. And right, you could fix these things if you're like a editor or something. All right, let's give some variety to the characters. Let's put in some more action, especially early on. Hook the audience. Let's have a satisfying ending. But then I think the movie, it might make it a more textbook good movie, but it would lose the purpose of the movie because all of those things would be unrealistic. And from what the directors are saying of this movie, it's supposed to be from the memory of the actual soldiers what this one particular mission was like. And any change I could come up with would be a disservice to that goal. And any Hollywood change that might make it a more satisfying movie, I suppose, would also be a disservice to that goal. And I think that they do a really good job. Once again, I, of course, wasn't there. I've never served. I don't know for certain what it's like, but from what I've heard and from what I know, this is what war is like. It's the classic hurry up and wait kind of thing is what the army says a lot. And it's because you got to prepare for everything, but then most of the time, everything doesn't happen. And for the first third of this movie, it doesn't happen. And then when it happens, it's crazy. But you also they're not some sort of Call of Duty action movie star. They're soldiers. And yeah, you can't expect them to go on some heroic moment. And human beings don't go on character arcs like that within a couple of hours, right? This movie takes place within a few hours. No one's going to change who they are just for a few hours, even if it's a few traumatic hours. That stuff takes time. And it's just, movies aren't real like that. So obviously all that stuff wouldn't make sense for this movie. But I've said this movie is perfect for what it wants to be. Every choice this movie made is the right choice for this movie. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I feel. So I'd be curious if you guys feel the same. And then lastly, before I want to end this thing, I do want to talk about some of the politics I've seen around this movie. And I think lots of it is bad faith people, right? Everything is politicized. What does politicize even mean? But that movie does cover the Iraq War, which is a controversial war, probably the most controversial war the United States has been part of for a very long time, anyways. And it doesn't really touch on those politics, I suppose. And once again, I think that is the right choice because with the soldiers with bullets whizzing around them, their compatriots' legs all broken, would they really be thinking about the politics of this war in that moment? I don't think so. And that's not what this movie's supposed to be. This movie's not supposed to be a political thriller talking about the morality of war, especially the Iraq War. And where would that even go? Where would the scene talking about how bad the Iraq War is, where would that go in this movie? I don't think it has a place. And so the movie doesn't talk about it. There is a problem with war movies, a traditional problem, where it's like everything captured on camera glorifies it no matter the subject. And so then how can you capture war in a movie without glorifying it? And I do think that is a problem that movies have to deal with. But this movie, I think, deals with it well. So anyone who's saying that this is a pro-war movie because they're upset it doesn't talk about the politics of Iraq, or they just see this movie and see its glorification, I think that I think that they didn't watch the same movie as me. Because if you come out of this movie being like, "Oh, war is cool," there is something wrong with you, I suppose. The final third of the movie is just filled with screaming from American soldiers. Right? So if you're an American watching this movie and then you see that and you're like, all right, I want to sign up for this war or for the army or the military, I think you are you maybe need to get checked out or something, because the final third of this movie is just constant screaming, people begging for painkillers. I don't know how you could walk out of this movie thinking it's a pro-war movie. And I want to be clear, the only reason I'm like laughing is because of how absurd the claim that this movie is pro-war is. I'm not laughing at the things that this movie depicts. And then, is it an anti-war movie? I would say, since it tries to capture real life, kind of, because in real life, war is typically bad. And so since this movie tries to capture it, yeah, it's going to be an anti-war movie, right? In the battlefield, there's no like glorious music or heroic moments like I was saying, like other movies have. This movie captures real war, attempts to capture real war, and real war is not pretty. And so if you're going to say this movie isn't anti-war or pro-war, I would probably generally agree with that. But if I had to choose which side it takes, I would say definitely an anti-war side, because like I said, there's just screaming and people crying and begging for drugs for the final third of the movie. And this is just definitely not a pro-war movie. And I would argue it's more of an anti-war movie. But those are the politics I've been seeing. And since it's online, that's the stuff that get flooded, right? That's what I see first. I assume that's not how most people walking out of the movie theater see that movie, but I do want to address it because I think it's just ridiculous to say that this movie is pro-war, glorifies war, or to be upset that this movie is so anti-war. If you're upset that this movie's anti-war, I think you don't know what war is, to be honest. But anyways, I also feel bad that the politics is dominating the conversation, because I think that what the director was just trying to do, he was one of the guys who served. The end of the movie shows that. He was just trying to show that he was trying to capture this one particular mission. And then the politics come in and dominate the conversation, which in real life I think is fine. Obviously, whenever you go to war, politics should get involved. And it's like, is this a morally just thing to do? But for this movie, for this, what this director is trying to do, I don't know if that's pertinent. And I think also it would be fine to have a good faith discussion about this, but I think lots of it is just bad faith discussion and a lot of trolls as well. But anyways, a super unique movie. I feel like there's not enough praise going around because it's definitely not for everyone. This movie is not for everyone. If you want a traditional movie with traditional action, this is not for you. But if you are at all slightly interested in how real warfare works, right? That's the title of the movie, basically. If you're interested in how real warfare works, I think this is the closest thing I hope to ever get, because I don't want to experience real warfare, of course. But super unique, super incredible. This movie better do great at the Oscars, because it's really good. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. And also, since it's so unique, you won't stop thinking about it. Like, you watch a good movie that's like all the other good movies, all right, you forget about it. But I've never seen anything like this, and I don't think I'll stop thinking about it for a very long time.